Okay. Thank you very much for having us here today. It's a real pleasure. We would love to be in person, on site, possibly not at Matterhorn as on the picture here, but yeah, we'll see when we can meet in person. Mike is here with me today. You know all about Mike, so I'll skip the presentation of him.
Yeah, and with me is Daniel, and you may not know Daniel yet, but you will know him in 45 minutes for sure, I bet. He's the Senior Principal Product Manager for Cloud Migrations, and of course, everything around upgrade and zero downtime migration. So any question regarding upgrade migrations and much more, you always can throw with a fence to Daniel. He has this cool blog, which looks a bit nicer than mine. I'm really jealous on that. And you can follow him safely as you can follow me on Twitter, because we both use Twitter not for food pictures or cat videos, but 99.9% for technical content. So let us just dig in. And of course, you can get the slides. I have to confess, I forgot to upload them with all the rush because we had a 2-hour seminar this morning, but I'm pretty certain they're already on Daniel's blog. So if you need them now, grab them from dohdatabase.com/slides, or in an hour from my blog. You'll find them usually there. And speaking of blogs, you may have seen my blog already, mikedietrich.com. You may know now, or you know now about Daniel's blog on the right side, dohdatabase.com. And we have another teammate who is, I think, getting up right now, Rodrigo George, who joined our team a few months ago, who works out of Brazil, and we run these workshops and seminars, all of us. So on all our blogs, you find a lot of technical content and no marketing stuff. And we usually write and talk about only things we have tried out by ourselves. If you think 45 minutes are not enough and you are eager for more, we have more than 17 hours of recorded content on our blogs. And it's all free. It's up to 2-hour seminars. This morning we did the 10th, and it will be available soon. So if you need to learn more about upgrades, migrations to the cloud, performance management and such, you certainly find it on our blogs. And now let's start digging in. And we have a pretty nice agenda. We start with upgrade, and then you see a lot of new 21 features, checksum, resume, parallel, and so on. We'll get to this later. And let us start with something which is not specific for 21C, just a little bit of repeat. And in case you have seen these 3 slides before, then you may relax now for the next 2 minutes. But for everybody who hasn't seen them, we have long-term support releases. 19C is a long-term support release. We have so-called innovation releases, which have a very short support time frame, like 2 years, maybe a bit more, but guaranteed no extended support, no release update revisions, so only the basic patches get delivered. That means clearly for your production databases, you jump from long-term to long-term support release, because that guarantees you the longest support. So production databases go, repeat myself, long-term to long-term. You may give a developer an innovation release like 21C, but keep in mind that you need to certify it again before you roll out in production, because you will go on production with the next long-term support release. So here we are today. Lifetime support policy, maybe the most important slide in all our presentations, because that is usually the reason why you move forward. If you would give you another 5 years of waived extended support for 11.204, some of you will certainly stay there until 2027, I bet. But now you have to pay extra because it's market-driven support. It runs out in a year and 2 months. 12.102, keep in mind, runs out mid of next year when it gets really warm. If it ever gets really warm in Switzerland, but it gets sometimes. So I think 12.201, 18, 19, and 21, I flipped to the next slide because I have a little bit of extra on that. First of all, before we go to that slide, I won't read that here, no worries. This is the summary when you download the slides, what all these different colors and the support levels mean and where you have to pay extra and not. I won't read it here, no worries. But this is where I want to go to. So right now we are here where the green bar is on the slide. So if you're on 12.201, we had this free, so no extra cost, limited error correction support added for those customers who were puzzled by our communication about 12.2, 18, and 19. A lot of people thought 12.2 is the long-term support release, so they went there, we realized that. So we said, okay, for critical issues and security issues, we still fix everything, and we release updates, but only until end of March next year. If you are on 18C, sorry for you. There's no bug fixing anymore on 18C, no RUs and so on. You should move. Clearly, long bar here, 19C. Until end of April 2024, or if your license agreement, like a ULA, a pooler, or an engineered system license agreement includes the extended support, then you're good to go until end of April 2027, at least. 21, you see, is out there. I think now for all platforms, it won't be available on Intel Solaris because we don't do any Oracle databases anymore on Intel Solaris. It won't be available on AIX, and it won't be available on Set Linux, and it won't be available on Spark. But it's out there on HP, on Windows, on Linux, and that's it. It's a developer release. If you want to go to the next long term, you'll see it on the slide. It's 23C, and please, it's dotted lines because this is pure fiction. We can't tell you the date right now, but approximately at this time frame. So you have enough overlay between 19 and 23 to move forward then. If you want to look that up afterwards, down on the slide, 742060.1, the single source of truth MOS node, which has all these states in it. An auto upgrade, which you use to upgrade, is fully backwards compatible. We say sometimes because it's numbered version 21 right now when you download it. And that means just it's the newest version. It's in line with the 21 release, but it's backwards compatible. So even if you want to upgrade, which hopefully you don't, to 12.201, you can still use the most recent version of auto upgrade. There's just one version out there. This is the one you can use for all the supported upgrades. And with that, over to Daniel for the next topics.
I'm really glad that you showed the last slide because I was getting a little nervous that, hey, we are in a talk about 21C new features, and here you are telling me to go to 19C. But don't worry, for the majority of the functionality, the auto upgrade functionality, you can use that on 19C as well. But we're going to start with some data pump stuff. And the first thing that I would like to talk about is checksums. Because in data pump 21, you can now tell data pump to calculate the checksum of the dump file at the end of the export. You can then use that checksum information on import to ensure that there is no corruptions in the dump file. Because what could possibly happen to a dump file that you export from your database sitting over here and you transfer it all along the internet to a cloud somewhere? What could possibly happen? Well, corruption could sneak in. That's one of the things, but also tampering. Hopefully, if you are transferring your dump file outside of the organization, you're using encryption. But if you're not, someone could tamper with the contents of the dump file. How can you ensure that that will not happen? Well, previously, what you could do is that you could write down the checksum of the dump files. You can calculate the checksums yourself. You could use MD5 sum, which is a very bad checksum algorithm. You can write down all that information, and then when the dump file arrives at the destination, you could do the same and compare. But it's not the best method, and MD5 is not the best checksumming algorithm. So we have made it embedded into data pump. On export, what you can do is that you can tell data pump to calculate the checksum. It happens at the very end of the operation, and we calculate the checksum and write it into the header file, the header section of the dump file, but we do so in an encrypted way. So it's not easy, it's not straightforward to mess with the dump file. You cannot change things in the dump file and just simply write in a new checksum because we have made that harder for you. Then on import, you can either just do a verification, ensure that the integrity of the dump file is intact, or you could also verify the checksum on import. So some very handy enhancements that are coming to data pump.
Oh, it's me again, right?
Yes.
Resume parallel. What's that? As I told you, we do not only upgrades. Sometimes we get involved with transportable table spaces as well. And transportable table spaces typically comes in when you have a bigger database and often on a big endianness platform, such as AIX or HPUX Titanium. And then you have this brilliant new Exadata box and you want to move over. And you have a downtime constraint, like 4 hours, 8 hours, something like that. And your database is like 685 terabytes. So in that case, you won't do most likely data pump, even though the feature from before is pretty cool. You will use most likely transportable table spaces. And one big flaw in transportable table spaces before 21C, now you move your super big files over and then you start a transport process and you run into a problem. And you could start from the beginning again because it was not resumable, which meant basically you dropped your receiving database, you recreated, and you started from scratch again. Now with 21C, data pump keeps sort of a history file or history table. And then when a data pump job with transportable fails, then you can resume it afterwards once you cleared up the situation. And on the same time, we made transportable table space jobs faster. And this especially is referring to the meta import of what is in my table space and the meta export as well. Because as you know, you may have optimized everything, but one big bottleneck is always there. You need to unload what is in your table spaces. So you need to export that and you need to import it. And especially if you had partition tables and subpartitions, that could take quite long. So I receive, I would say, once a month, somebody asking, can't we speed that up? Now you can, because during the XDP, you can specify parallel. And what it does is it parallelizes the meta export of what is in your table space. So we don't speak about the rebuild of synonyms. We speak about the tables, the index information, the partition information, the type information, which is in your table space. And then you can do the same thing during the import. Only downside here is both of these features together work only when your source is also a 21C database. With one of them, I think with the exp, you can use also a source 19C, but impdp, as far as I remember, only 21C. And Daniel, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here.
No, I think.
Okay, good. So if the export was made on a lower version, it's still possible to import in parallel. Yes, thank you for adding this into 21C. So as I said before, this is important to know. And this brings me back to Daniel. What's fast deploy?
It's super cool. Because it allows you to very simply upgrade with less downtime by taking some of the stuff outside of the downtime window and put it put it outside of the maintenance window. So what you actually can do is that you can run the pre-upgrade fix-ups before you shut down the database and do the upgrade. When you upgrade with auto upgrade, and I really hope you upgrade with auto upgrade and you don't use any other method. So when you're using auto upgrade, you are used to doing it this way. First, you start auto upgrade in analyze mode, which is non-intrusive. It logs onto the database, runs a few queries, and checks the database readiness, ensures that you can upgrade that database. Then when downtime begins, when it's time to start the upgrade, you start auto upgrade in deploy mode. Deploy mode will redo the analysis, and then it'll run the pre-upgrade fix-ups. That could be gathering of dictionary statistics or fixed object statistics or any of the other things that auto upgrade can fix for you in the database. This might take some time. And then afterwards, the database is restarted in upgrade mode, and now the actual database upgrade begins. This is deploy mode. Fast deploy mode. What happens there is that we take the analysis and the fix-ups and move them outside of the maintenance window and then into the normal office hours. So instead of a two-step process, you now have a three-step process. Again, when the database is open for business, you start auto upgrade in analyze mode. based on the analysis, you can then run the pre-upgrade fix-ups by starting in fix-ups mode. But be aware now, in fix-ups mode, auto-upgrade is now actually making changes to your database. We are running the pre-upgrade fix-ups and fixing as many things as we can. Then when downtime begins, when you're ready to do the upgrade, you can go directly to the database upgrade. The database will be restarted immediately in upgrade mode. First, we will set a restore point and then start in upgrade mode and then do the database upgrade. So less downtime. That sounds like a pretty good thing. Why don't you just do that by default? But there is a catch here. I mean, there is no good without a little evil. And the little evil in this case is that between the execution of the pre-upgrade fix-ups and when downtime begins, there is a very small window where theoretically new undetected issues can be introduced in the database. And in worst case, one of those issues is so severe that it can cause the upgrade to fail. This is a risk that you must be willing to accept, but the benefit of accepting that risk is that you can upgrade with less downtime. Our recommendations is that you stick with the traditional way of upgrading, that's using the regular deploy mode. But if you are in a situation where every minute counts in your upgrade project, then you can switch to the fast deploy mode to gain a few minutes there.
And just let me add, if you ask yourself how much time can be between my fix-ups and my upgrade, that's 3 days actually. So auto upgrade checks. If you did it 4 days ago, then auto upgrade will do the analyze and fix-ups again when you call it afterwards, or at least raise an error. Data guard. What's here new regarding auto upgrade? So auto upgrade detects the presence of data guard and takes care of the primary database. This works even if it's broker managed, and of course also in manual data guard environments. So this is how it works. We have the primary and we have the standby database and we have redo apply on. Let's say both are 11.204. Not so unusual, but could be any other newer release as well. We install now a new 19C home, so this is a 21C talk, but we are stubborn, we install a 19C home. And remember, last release update, the newest one needs to be on top of that. So it's either 1912 or 1913. Then we would stop redo apply and shut down the standby. We upgrade our database on production. And once it is upgraded, we mount a standby in the new Oracle home. We turn on redo apply, and then we upgrade simply via redo apply. So if you ever ask yourself, how does my standby database get upgraded? Just via redo apply. You started a new home and then you consume the logs from the primary with all the upgrade statements. Okay, that's the concept. So I think we have a demo here as well. So the environment, primary database, you see it, it's prod. The SID of the standby is prod as well. So before upgrade, we back up the data guard, broker config files, and we stop the standby. So let's see. The broker, say hello to the broker, my best friend, show configuration. Prod 1 is the primary database, prod 2 is the physical standby database. On the standby host now, the blue one, a quick check from $v parameter for the broker config file. Where is it? Here it is. So here the broker has written down its information, its definitions. Then we stop the instance. Instance is down, disable it. Now we copy the broker files to a temp location. And as next step, we upgrade the primary database using auto upgrade. So back to the yellow host, BM1, that's my production host. Quickly check on the production config file for auto upgrade. And it's the shortest possible version of auto upgrade. So database SID is prod, source home is 18, target home is 19C. Kickoff auto upgrade. minus config. And in this case, we do mode deploy because we have done our pre-checks before already. Now let's fast forward because you don't want to watch the upgrade run. 20 minutes later, the job 100, our upgrade job completed. And here you see the data guard broker configuration is disabled. Enable it once it's ready to sync up the standby database. And it gives you even the command. So let's do that. Let's restart the data guard environment. So I'm on the standby host now, BM2. My environment is set. I copy back now the files I backed up before from DBS, from network admin, and of course, my broker files. Then I start the instance and change the association for SRV-CTL to the new homes. Mount mode, it's a physical standby. Enable it, and then start the standby instance. So here we go. Back to the prod, PM1, data guard broker. Now the command auto upgrade gave us edit database prod1 set state transport minus on, show configuration. Now we see multiple warnings. What's going on here? Do it a little bit later. Now it's good. Transport is on. It has started syncing. It got all the log files. It consumed everything. Oh, and here we have a lag apply. Daniel, what did you do here? 58 minutes. Hell. Oh, yes, there was an upgrade. Now it's 52 minutes. What happens?
My computer is slow. You need to give me a faster one.
Yeah, I will do that. I will do this as soon in 5 years when yours is running out of lease, okay? So you see the apply lag is going shorter and shorter. Now the logs get shipped and it keeps up. And that doesn't take that long because redo apply is so fast. So a quick test. And this is a general recommendation. When you have such an environment, don't trust it until you tested it. So first of all, we validate the situation. The broker tells us, yes, I'm ready to switch over. We validate database prod2, and it says, yes, I'm ready for a switch over as well. I'm time for a switch over. Daniel, are you ready for a switch over as well?
Yes, give me the database.
Let's do it. Do a quick switch over. And by the way, we do this with our most important email server instances as well at Oracle. We do regular switchovers to make sure that the standbys really work. And it's time for a switchover then, Daniel.
Yeah,
no,
okay,
not
cool.
yet. Not yet.
I can do this.
Oh, yeah, you do that. I always feel uncomfortable with this advice because I do it often differently.
Yes, so Mike said that we were stubborn, and in this case, we are conservative because our advice to you is that you disable redo apply on the standby database and shut it down before you start the upgrade. So whatever happens, if whatever goes wrong on the primary database during the upgrade, and if flashback doesn't work, Aura 600 and whatever you can imagine, you still have that standby database shut down. So you can simply just restart it and then you are good to go. But if you are talking to the MAA folks, all those that has Exadata playgrounds and what have you not, they are very concerned about downtime and they want the upgrade to happen as soon as possible. So if you talk to the MAA folks, their recommendation is that you keep the standby database online during the entire upgrade. By doing that, you can faster go live after the upgrade because you don't have to wait until the standby database catches up. So you simply move it to the new Oracle home before the upgrade. And then as the upgrade happens on the primary database, redo is shipped and applied on the standby together with the upgrade of the primary database. So you can go live faster after the upgrade. But you can still flash back if something happens. You are very well protected. It's just that if you are very conservative, very conservative, then you might prefer to have the standby database completely shut down while you are working on the primary database. Either way you choose is fully supported. So I would say this is a matter of preference, whatever you want to do. Okay.
And just let me add this single piece, because we had this at Universal Investment in Frankfurt when we had a broker on while we upgraded. And the broker completely destroyed the entire upgrade, but this was 12.1 to 12.201 at this time. So from the documentation as well, you can see that since 12.201, you could even allow the broker to stay on while you do that. At least it's documented. But I think Daniel and you and I, we are both in line that we feel a bit better if we disable the broker while we do that. I guess so. At least I do.
That's what you get from spending multiple years working with the same technology. You get experience, but you also get preference for things that you have done just because you've done that for many years.
Yeah.
So speaking about restore and flashback, another new cool feature is that auto upgrade can now revert a database upgrade. Previously, auto upgrade would set a guaranteed restore point for you. And if something went wrong during the upgrade, it would automatically flashback the database and put it in the state that it was before the upgrade. Now, this change is now that even after an upgrade, you can still flashback the database. When everything has gone through, when you have recompiled database, when the upgrade was good, time zone file upgrade, and so forth, auto upgrade has exited, you can still use auto upgrade to flashback the database. And then you might ask, why on earth would I do that? If I'm upgrading my database and everything goes well, why would I need to flashback? Well, for instance, in a test environment, it is very useful that you can repeat the same upgrade over and over with multiple configurations. And in that case, it is very useful to use auto upgrade for the purpose to have a very streamlined process there as well. It could also be that you are testing after the database upgrade reveals an error that causes you to revert the upgrade. Now that's even easier with auto upgrade. You can use it to flashback a database. You can flashback an entire upgrade. If you also converted your non-CDB database into a PDB, or you did an unplug plug operation, you can also revert that operation, but only if you made a copy of the data files. When you do a PDB conversion, it is an irreversible process. Flashback database cannot flashback a plugin operation. But if you made a copy of the data files, auto upgrade can then use the copies that were left behind to restore the database as it were before. And it is very simple to do that. You simply use auto upgrade, specify the same config file, and then you use restore minus jobs, and you give it the job number or numbers that you want to flash back. When you are reverting a database upgrade underneath the hood, it is using flashback database. Before we touch anything on the database, auto upgrade will set a guaranteed restore point. Then the upgrade happens, UTLRP, time zone upgrade, you are testing and what have you not. And when you then decide that you want to flashback, auto upgrade will shut down the database, mount it, flash it back, shut it down again, and then restarting in the old Oracle home and then open with reset locks. That is the procedure. You can do that manually, or you can use auto upgrade to do it for you, much more simpler. This is my database. It's running 12.2. I have an auto upgrade config file. It's very simple, nothing special here. I specified drop GRP after upgrade equals no. I didn't have to do that because it is the default, but just for the sake of the demo, I've put it in. Then I start a regular database upgrade. I reference the config file and kick off deploy mode. And speeding up here a little, if only regular upgrades were that fast. Job 100 completed. Now note the job number 100. Auto upgrade tells me I haven't dropped the restore point. You need to do that. So let's reset the environment and log into the database. I can see from $B instance that it has now been upgraded to database 19C. Now we allow the testers to play with the database and they found a critical error. So now we have to revert the database upgrade. So I simply specify minus restore minus jobs 100. That was the number of my database upgrade. And now it'll start to revert the database upgrade, issuing a flashback database. And after a little while, you can see that the job was restored. And that's it. You can now start to use the database again. Let's reset the environment, log into the database. And here we are, query $B instance back in 12.2. So it only took me one command to use auto upgrade to do the flashback operation. I could do it manually, much more simpler with auto upgrade. And auto upgrade ensures that everything else is also taken care of. Because when you do it manually, you have to take care of etc ORATAP. You have to change the cluster ware registration. You have to move files, P files, SP files, broker config files, network files, and what have you not. When you do it with auto upgrade, it will take care of that for you. If you have a data guard environment and you are flashing back the primary database, similar to the upgrade process, auto upgrade handles everything on the primary database, whereas you have to take care of the standby database or the standby databases.
And there I have to make some marketing in between, because on 11th of November, we do a full 2-hour seminar about these fallback strategies. And I think that part we'll see there again, but much, much more. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, Daniel. I wanted to say something.
No, it's fine. But yeah, don't interrupt me again with marketing.
I will never do, I promise, okay? So, unplug plug, our final topic for now. Auto upgrade can perform unplug plug upgrade. So what is an unplug plug upgrade? You have a CDB in a new environment, and then you want to unplug the PDB from the lower version environment and plug it into the higher version CDB environment and let it do an upgrade. So this is how it works. We have on the left side our lower version, typically CDB $root with the seed, and here just one PDB, which we would call single tenant. And this PDB, we can now upgrade everything at once, but then we have actually 3 upgrades, because the root container will be upgraded, and then the PDB $seed and PDB1 will be upgraded in parallel. So especially for such environments, we think it's much more clever if you can build up that second CDB on the right side of the slide, like allocating SGA and such in the higher release, because then you would just unplug and plug and upgrade. So here you see only one upgrade, because only the PDB will be upgraded and not the seed and not the root container. They'll be deployed freshly. So this is okay. It's not a new concept. I mean, this exists since multi-tenant is out there, but auto upgrade supports that now. So the fully automated unplug plug upgrade is there. Source home and target home, as you saw before, and the SID. This is the SID where my PDB currently is plugged into. So it's CDB1, it's the one on the left side. Then I specify my PDBs, and it doesn't have to be only one here. You can do the same exercise with like 6 PDBs. You just separate them in the string. If I remember correctly, it's comma separated list then. And then I have to specify the target CDB. This is the new one I created. This is now, in my case, the 19C CDB. And I simply kick off auto upgrade with the deploy command, and auto upgrade will do now everything for you. Unplug, plug, and upgrade. And of course, auto upgrade doesn't create your CDB, so you have to create it. But flashback database, keep that in mind, doesn't work for unplug plug, because you're going into a new database. It's a new database environment, and even if you have created a restore point in the PDB itself, which is possible, it won't be carried over to the other side, because there we would need flashback logs and redo logs. So you can't use flashback database and the existing data files are then reused. So you can do the same thing. Now it stayed in place. The PDB is still sitting there where we left it off. This may not be so convenient in some environments. So we add here one extra parameter, target PDB copy option for PDB1. And we say our file name convert none. That means we rely on the create data file, or what is this called? Create
DB create file dest.
Thank you very much. This is why we basically present together. That helps a lot. Awesome. Thank you. And it will use that. So this would be the case for ASM here. And then it will do the magic and put it in the right file parameter destination in ASM. Same command as before, all set. And in this case here, if we would be in file system instead of that, and we want to copy the data files around, then we would use this one here, which I use in my demos usually because I'm doing my demos in file system, whereas Daniel usually tests in the cloud and he uses or relies then on ASM. I'm old-fashioned, you know. But keep in mind, it takes a little bit of time to copy the files. So what if this is our single tenant? It's our big warehouse, it's 160 terabytes, and we need to wait. That's not so cool. Or even if the target CDB is now located on a different host, because you ask these Oracle guys and they rolled in this brand new shiny Exadata X9M, and what should you do? You have to copy over 160 terabytes. That takes quite a while. So what do? Coming soon, very soon, upgrade via refreshable clone PDB. So we extend that feature now. What we'll do is on our source left side, we create a clone user. Of course, you have to name the clone user ch/borg. There's no exception from that rule, but give it a different password in Oracle, please. In addition, this clone user needs a few privileges, and the most important privilege here is the select any catalog role. Of course, also the create pluggable database, but the select any catalog role is very important. And of course, you can get rid of Borg afterwards once you're done. So you don't have to keep that user forever. But for the cloning process, it's highly advised that you use that cloning user, which of course you can name differently than Borg. On our target environment, this is now the shiny brand new X9M. And there we created a CDB already. And from this CDB, we create now a database link. And it's very important. It has to point back into that PDB1, not into the CDB on the source. It has to point to the PDB. This is why I named the link clone PDB1, and it points back to the PDB in the source. Now we call auto upgrade. And auto upgrade uses the same parameters we used before. So the source SID, the target CDB, which is CDB2, and very, very important, I specify now this clone link with the parameter source dblink.pdb1. I can do this also for free of them at the same time with different PDB parameters, of course. So I can even use different links if I want to use them. And one special thing you may wonder, what does this 600 mean here? This 600 are 600 seconds. So what auto upgrade will now do? It will clone your PDB from the source across server boundaries into the new CDB in the new environment, the 19C environment, and it will create it as a refreshable clone. Now you may ask, wait a bit, this is a 12201 PDB. Yes, it is, no worries. Afterwards, it will be upgraded, but it will be, first of all, copied 160 terabytes now. This may take 2 days, but once it's done, then it will start refreshing it. Every 10 minutes, it will refresh it with the prod. So once you are done, once you say, okay, now I stop my application on the left side, I'm ready to upgrade, then you stop your application, you make sure the final synchronization has happened, and then you stop it and you open it and you upgrade it. So this is how it works. It's not upgraded at the beginning. We do redo. You use the redo stream and we refresh it over and over again based on the parameter you've been given. And once it's ready, then you can upgrade it, and then it's a 19C PDB. So you avoided all the copy time, which would have caused a lot of downtime. And this is almost ready to go. You want to say something, Daniel?
Yeah, it's just a very neat feature is that before auto upgrade kind of disconnects the database link, it'll do a final refresh. So auto upgrade will ensure, I mean, even if it has a refresh rate of, in this case, 10 minutes, it'll ensure at the very end, do a refresh and then cut the connection and open the database. So you ensure that you get all the latest changes with you.
Yeah, okay. I guess we can expect this hopefully sometime this year, this calendar year. Hopefully, we'll see. But
yeah,
we tested it both already, and it works quite smooth, actually.
Yeah, and if there are some of you out there that are desperate to try this new feature, yeah, get in touch with us, and I'm sure we can give you a beta version or a very close to production version that you can test with. Yeah. So if it has any interest, just reach out to us. Just for reference, our blogs, Mike and mine, and also Rodrigo's. Yeah, since we all have been grounded for quite many months, we spend our time doing webinars. And also on YouTube, we produced a lot of videos, and we try to post videos 2 or 3 times every week. So subscribe to the channel and get a lot of cool Oracle videos, mostly about upgrade and migrations. But since we are tech lovers, there are also sometimes other database related topics. But yeah, we keep the same guarantee. It's completely marketing free and no cat videos or food videos. And for the Groundbreakers tour, we have another talk coming up on Saturday. We will be in Saudi Arabia, Mike and I, at least virtually, before finishing up in Latvia on Thursday. And for those topics, we will talk about auto upgrade deep dive. I hope to see some of you there. If you won't do it Saturday morning, that's perfectly fine with us. But we are repeating the same talk on Thursday as well. I haven't checked the chat if there are any questions.
There was one question in the chat which I answered quickly while typing. That question was if Spark 21C will be available, and I simply answered, as I said before, no, unfortunately not. 21C won't be available on Spark, on AIX, and not on Set Linux. So, but you'll see 23C.
Okay, cool.
Can you check the chat? There are questions.
So I'm just opening it. I just read the first question. So
can you revert PDB plug upgrade, downgrade to original version CDB, maybe restore? It is possible to do a downgrade of an individual PDB. It has the same requirements as a downgrade of a non-CDB or container database, that it is a requirement that you haven't changed the compatible parameter. And be aware, in the multi-tenant world, as soon as you plug in a PDB to a container with a different compatible setting, the compatible parameter is changed silently and without any confirmation or anything at all. So be very cautious about that. But if you have, let's say, a 12.2 CDB and a 19C CDB, if you are set compatible in the 19C CDB to the same as in 12.2, you can do a downgrade of that PDB. If you have changed compatible, there is no way of going back with a downgrade. You don't have flashback database, then you can restore the PDB, or you can do a data pump export.
With version equals the source.
Yes, yes.
Then I take the second one. Can you do upgrade in parallel to multiple versions, 19C and 21C, for example, or better serialized? You can serialize by yourself. So you have the start time now, which is the default, but you can define start times. So in the auto upgrade config file, you can differ with the prefix. So we, in our examples, we used always the prefix, if you recognize UPG1. So you can name the prefix whatever you want, but let's assume you have UPG1 for the first database and UPG2 for your second database. Then you could start the first upgrade, let's say at 20 p.m. tonight or 8 p.m. and the next one at 10, because you know your machine is not super equipped. So that's possible. And of course, you can wildly mix versions you're upgrading to, because we are the source and the target home. You just tell auto upgrade where the upgrade needs to run. So UPG1 could be a 12 to a 1 to 19C upgrade, while UPG2 is an 11 to a 4 to 19C upgrade, while UPG3 is a 18C to 21 upgrade, and all in one config file. And auto upgrade basically then like employs the parallel upgrade from each of the homes to run the upgrades. Auto upgrade can also upgrade as many databases as your compute power allows to digest at the same time. So if you have 20 databases and you want to upgrade them at the same time, we had an automotive customer in Germany building quite fast cars actually, and they upgraded up to 40 databases in parallel with auto upgrade. So that really works. Auto upgrade can't build a pipeline. You have to decide the pipeline. What you could do in exchange is when you realize, oh, it's taking too much resources, the load on your system is too high, then you can abort the upgrade. Like Daniel showed you before, job 100. You would say in auto upgrade in the console, abort minus job 100. That doesn't mean that the job is broken. It just means then you wait until you have more compute power available, and then you say resume minus job 100, and then auto upgrade will just pick off from where it left off for this database. But the tool itself doesn't build up a pipeline unless you decide to do that.
But you could integrate it in. I mean, auto upgrade can run fully unattended. So, I mean, if you prefer to use another tool for scheduling than auto upgrade, you can just call auto upgrade from Ansible or Puppet or whatever tool that you prefer. There is a special switch called No Console, which is designed for interactive, non-interactive use cases. So you could simply do that.
Which is really important, by the way. Even if you send it in the background with no hub, you must use the no console. Otherwise, you don't get the result you wanted. Any other questions?
There's one in the question panel.
Ah, thanks, Julian.
Oh, there's a Q&A.
Yeah, it's both. Yeah, as I said, is there a way to parallelize the cloning? You can specify different database links. As we showed before with the DB source link .pdb1, and it specifies exactly the database link you created. If that is really efficient, I can't tell you because I haven't tried it with too many yet. But you could decide more database links. Generally, a database link in Oracle works that we really try to saturate the network. And when you want to monitor that, because I had the same case on the weekend with that monitoring, in VDollar session long ops, you see how far the cloning has gone, especially important when you have now a very large PDB, and you want to clone 160 terabyte PDB, and then you start like anxiously monitoring the files in ASM, you better go into VDollar session long ops because it tells you how much it's gonna read and how much it had read already. So you get a better idea where the process right now is. But I personally haven't tried it with multiple database links yet. Have you, Daniel?
No, but since it is just a database link, I guess that it's limited by the resources, either network contention or IO contention, whatever bottleneck you hit first.